Hello, how's it going, everybody? Now that everyone's home and working on their laptops at home, I know some people have been having troubles with Premiere Pro and having it run on maybe your older laptops, that's your personal computer, versus what we had in the labs and the editing rooms. So in this short video, I just kind of want to show you some little tips and tricks that you can do to help improve the performance of your computer with Premiere Pro. We're going to go from very simple to more extreme, and hopefully a combination of these will help you and your performance of your computer. Now, first and foremost, I always say, if you are editing on your own hard drive, that's your number one mistake. Make sure, like I have here, here's my external hard drive. My material is on the external. I'm not editing anything on the internal hard drive. The internal hard drive on your computer is for the software only, not for your media. Your media needs to be on the external hard drive. Second thing is that your hard drive speed does make a difference. Now, if you're not sure of your speed of your external hard drive, I recommend downloading this software called Blackmagic Disk Speed Test. This is available on the App Store from Apple. And what's great about this is when you open it up, I'm going to select here, I'm going to select my target disk and choose your external drive from the left side here. And when you hit this test, it's going to see how fast you can read and write to that hard drive. And you can see as it's doing this, down here in the bottom, it's showing me what this is good for, what video formats and what dimensions. So this is not great for like 4K or even 2K really. This is great for 1080 HD video. So this is something you might want to do with your hard drives if you're curious. Now, thumb drives, little USB sticks, SD cards are not good for this. You need to have a real external hard drive. So next, let's go ahead and open up Premiere Pro and just open this project I use as a demo in class. Okay, so once you have Premiere Pro open, one of the simplest things to do to help playback performance while you're editing is to come into your program window on the right side here, and this little drop down here, this is your playback resolution. So you have full, half, quarter. You might even be able to go down to 1/8 or 1/16. When I bring these down, my playback is going to look a little fuzzy, but it's going to allow me to play it a little smoother. So that way I'm not going to have my computer stalling out and freezing on me. It's going to let me play back that clip without interruption. If I have it at full resolution all the time and I don't have a machine that can handle it, when I play that back, it might not like it as much. Now, this does not affect your final exporting quality. This is just playback while you're editing. So don't worry about this affecting your final resolution. This is only while you're playing it. The second thing that you can do to help improve your playback quality is come and click on the little wrench here for your settings and make sure that you have turned off high quality playback. So mine is currently turned off, and that does help it out a little bit. So if this is turned on, that's going to use a lot more resources. So make sure that is turned off and you should have a better time. The other thing is sometimes when I'm editing, I like to have margins on, my safe margins, so I can see where my action and title safe are. If you're having problems, go ahead, click on that settings and turn that off and make sure, because again, that's rendering over the top of it. So anything that you're adding onto it is going to cause a little bit of extra strain on your machine. Now, if you're working on a project that has a lot of effects on it and transitions and things like that, that could also be affecting the playback quality. So you can turn on and off your effects while you're playing back. So maybe you just want to watch a straight cut of it without the effects on top of it. You can do that very simply. So first, I'm going to hit the plus button here in my program window. This adds some different buttons. I can drag down the global FX one down here and hit OK. And now when I click on that, now all the effects are muted. So when you play back, any effect you might have had on top of the video file is going to be turned off temporarily. This just while you have that on there, it's turned off. So now you can see the edits and it won't affect that playback until maybe you want to render out those effects later on and watch it at full resolution. But I can also just click that again and turns the effects back on. So that's just a quick toggle on and off. So those are some simple things that you can do in your program window to help improve your playback performance on your computer. Now let's go into the settings area to see some other, a little bit of under the hood stuff that we can help out with. So if I go to my Premiere Pro menu on the top left here and come down to preferences, I'm going to start in the autosave. Believe it or not, and this is news to me as well, autosave can cause problems. It's just something that runs in the background. So if you're having problems, turning this off might actually help you alleviate some of those problems. The downside of this, make sure you're saving every once in a while. Hit that Command S on the keyboard to become your own autosave, because if you crash and you've been editing for 2 hours, none of that's going to be saved. You know, in the old days, we didn't have this. I'm still in the habit of always hitting Command S after I finish some complicated edit. That way it's always saved. Now, the other thing we want to come down here and check is memory. So click on your memory and make sure that you're optimized rendering for performance, not for memory, but for performance. And then up here where it says RAM reserved for other applications, make sure that is low. You want all your RAM available for Premiere Pro. So I sometimes put this as low as it'll let me, and then have Premiere Pro running as well as I can. You know, again, this I should mention at this point, if you have other programs open, close those. If you're having problems with Playback and you have Photoshop open and Audition open and After Effects open, that's part of your problem. You can't have all those programs open at the same time because they're all asking for the same memory to be used. So go ahead, close out any program you're not using in conjunction with Premiere Pro at that moment, and that will help your performance. And also your media cache. So by default, your media cache, look at mine as well, is on my local hard drive. So you might want to go ahead and hit the browse button and choose your external hard drive as your media cache, because as this builds up, it's going to take up more and more of your hard drive space, and that is going to cause a problem. So those are some things in the settings that can help you out. Now, if you're still having problems after doing those two things, maybe you're working with some 4K footage and you're using a laptop that is a couple years old, that could just cause problems because it's really high resolution and the computer can't handle it because you don't have enough processor power, video memory, or just RAM in general to handle that. So what we can do is create a proxy file. There's a lot of great tutorials and dialogues on this online. I'm just going to very briefly go over it because it is kind of labor intensive if you want to go that route. So when you're setting up a new project, if you know that's going to be a thing that you want to do and create proxies, you can go to your ingest settings, check off the box, and then do create proxies here. And it's going to go ahead and you see there's different formats here. This is actually new with the newer version. I like these versions better than what it used to say. But I can create an H.264 low resolution proxy. And what's going to happen now is when I import things in, it's going to open up media encoder and it's going to transcode all of your original files to a proxy file. And what that does is now when you're editing, you're using a lower resolution version of that file. Now, if you've already created your project, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We can still do that. See, here I have my video clips for this project. I can highlight all of them, right click, and where to go? There's proxy, create proxies. And again, select which format I want and then hit the OK button. And right here you can see it says next to original media and proxy folder, or I can choose where it's going to go. So always pay attention to where you're saving this stuff to. You don't want to be saving it on your local hard drive. Again, that's going to mess up stuff down the road. And I click OK, and you're going to see what's going to happen now. Media encoder opens up and starts transcoding those files automatically. Now, if you have a lot of files or very large files, this is going to take some time. So this is not something that you just sit down, ingest, and like you're ready to go in 5 minutes. This is a, hey, let me do this before I go to bed and start it and let it happen overnight. A couple of hints with that. Make sure you shut off your energy saver settings on your computer. You don't want your computer falling asleep during this. And honestly, if you're going to be doing a lot of these, have your computer in a different room from where you're going to sleep, because the fan is going to be very loud. It's going to make a lot of noise all night long, and it's going to be annoying. Luckily, I only have 4 very short clips here, and it's already done. Now I go back into Premiere. So to use that proxy setting, I'm going to come to the plus button again in my program area, and I'm going to drag down the toggle proxies icon here. And now, when I click on that, now I'm using the proxies. It looks pretty much the same. It's a little bit lower quality. If you zoomed in, you could probably tell, but it is using the proxy versions. Now, the only thing to remember is when you go to render out your full final version, you need to turn this off. If this is still turned on and you export, it's going to export using the proxy videos. So we need to turn that off to export using the full resolution videos. Now, a couple other things just to remember: your hard drive on your local computer does make a difference of how your video renders. If you have a full hard drive, your computer is not going to be able to function properly. You need to have at least 10 to 20% free space on your computer to have an efficient video editing machine. Once you get past that threshold of 10 to 20% free, that's when you're also going to start running into issues. So again, using external hard drive, putting that stuff off there, making sure your cache files are being used on the external hard drive. And it's not just Premiere Pro that uses the cache, it's also Adobe Photoshop as well, and After Effects and things like that. So you might want to go in those and either delete the cache that's on your local machine, or make sure those are going into your external hard drives, so that way you're not filling up your hard drive with all that junk on there, because before you know it, you're going to have very little free space and your computer just stops functioning. And with most Macs, once you get below 5 gigs or a little bit less, it basically slows down to a crawl. You can't do much of anything on there, so it is not advisable. I know I have at least 100 gigs free on my hard drive. I really just try to keep my programs on it and some very few files. Everything is either in cloud storage or it's on external hard drives, and that helps make the machine run a lot better. Those are some things that you can do to help improve the performance of Premiere Pro on your laptop, no matter the age of it. Also, remember, make sure your operating system is up to date. Some of the newer features in Premiere Pro don't work properly with older versions of the OS. Mac OS updates are free as long as your machine is capable of running that OS. So make sure you do update your software on a regular basis and update your Adobe software as well. That does help with performance. So if you're lagging behind in your updates, that could be also another problem as to why your videos seem to be lagging while you're editing. And lastly, take your time sometimes. I do this all the time too. I edit 4K video on my computer, and I could be editing for a half hour. Then all of a sudden the fan spins up and the video stops, and I just have to hit the stop button and give it a minute, and then it's good again. So sometimes when that happens, it's like, you know what? This is a good time to take a break, go take a walk, get some fresh air, have a sandwich, whatever it is. So it's not the end of the world, but I can understand how this can be very frustrating when it happens all the time. I've been there. I know how it is. All right, that's all for today. Have a good one.